Let's take a good posture, our best posture of the day. I think we looks like 4,882 of us from all over the world. I know we've already done this, but maybe before we take a good posture, before we bow, let's all take one moment to say hi, Samara. Samara was my accountant for, I think, 12 years or something. She's partly the reason that Elephant is alive now today. And now she lives in California, Samara. But let's all, and say hi to my mom. This is her first time. She may not be the most technologically enthusiastic person. My mom is Linda. Hey, Mom. She's up in Halifax. Thank you so much for being here. And then let's all say hi to one another. So wherever you are in the world, if you haven't already said, or if you're in a super fun, interesting place, I'm coming to you live from Boulder, Colorado. There just was an article out that Boulder has had the most snow of any city or anywhere in the United States this year. So it's incredibly snowy. I don't know if you can see the windows outside here, the mountains. It's just a winter wonderland out there. I hope that didn't give you the spins. So let's start with a bow, and then, oh yeah. So Long Beach, California. We got Botley, Hampshire in the UK. We have Bloomingdale, Illinois. We have Ridgeway, Colorado, San Francisco, California, Denver, Philadelphia, Philly, Georgia, Berkeley, Sri Lanka, Durango, Seattle. Anyone from away? Ecuador. I know it's been some suffering there. A dear friend of mine is from Ecuador. California, New Mexico, Argentina. Someone is coming from On the Pooper. That's DJR, of course, who is one of my colleagues. Shippensburg, Pennsylvania, Philadelphia. You two should get together 6 feet apart. Philippines, Chicago, Ferndale, Salt Lake City, Minneapolis, Chicago. Let's get a couple more overseas. Wappinger Falls, Philippines. There we go. Anyone else overseas? Jersey Shore. That's kind of overseas. Boston in New Hampshire. I used to live in Boston and Vermont. If the sound or anything isn't working, make sure it's not muted, and you can always refresh. Northern Yorkshire, UK. I might have missed a few. Copenhagen. I'm jealous of your bike lanes. Dublin. Souderton, Pennsylvania. If it's echoing, I don't know. I can't do everything tech-wise, but Emily and Molly are on. Emily, Molly. Molly is one of the 2 Elephant Academy staff people who is on today, and she is doing this with a migraine. So let's all give a little bit of appreciation to Molly as well. Linda, Mom, you have to turn up your volume, or do we have any tech advice, folks? Audio issues, please refresh. So if you can't hear it, just refresh. Can someone type that in again? Headphones often help. I don't know if my mom has headphones. All right. Kelly, I'm sorry it's not working for you. Anyway, I think if it's working for you, can you say yes? Is it working for you folks? No echo, volume is okay. Should we proceed? Yes. If you can't hear, refresh. Yes, working. Okay. Let's take a great posture. Time is short. It's 11:08. Take your best posture of the entire day, of the entire week. Take an extremely, ridiculously good posture. Okay? So everyone, let's bring it in. Even if you're on the pooper, let's bring it in. Take a great posture. And then relax that wonderful posture of yours. So it's not just Superman or Black Panther or Wonder Woman posture, but it's relaxed. When you relax, you'll breathe into the posture, and your spine can just naturally align instead of being this rigid, uptight thing. So the refresh button, Mom, I don't know if you can see this. It's that round button. If you can't hear me, can someone put a screenshot in there or something? It's delightful. The next door neighbors have built a snow ramp over their stairs, and they're all skiing down it. Okay, take a great posture. Let's just bring it in. There's a lot of chaos about technology here. Find a good breath, eyes are open, and with a bow of respect and friendliness to everyone here. Imagine feeling respect and friendliness for every single person here. That's a pretty nice feeling. Thank you, Naomi. Top left corner arrow circle thing. And then with that respect and friendliness, let's give it away. So we give it away with a bow. We give it away with respect and friendliness. Bowing may be replacing handshaking, right? The stock in handshakes has been pretty high for a long time. The stock in hugs has been super high, as it should be, for a long time. But the stock in bows is probably going to go up. So my advice to you is invest in bows. Buy bows, sell hugs and handshakes for now. Hopefully at some point we'll all be able to hug, hug, hug. What do we need to know if we can hug, handshake, etc.? What do we need? We need testing. We need testing. We need testing. We need government leadership and cooperation. We need testing. Okay. I don't know what to do about some tech issues. Let's just focus it in. So this is a free offering from Elephant Academy. When the quarantine began, I said almost immediately, it took a week for me to think of it because I'm a little bit slow, but we'll call it almost immediately. I said, let's offer some of the joy, some of the connection, some of the learning, some of the challenge of Elephant Academy for free. If you want to join the full thing, we're offering it at 60% off. This is not an infomercial. I am not trying to make money off of you. Elephant Academy at 60% off doesn't even make money for us, but we want to pay, Molly. We want to pay. Let's focus in. Comments, let's just focus. If you're advising someone with tech issues, that's fine. But otherwise, let's just focus, bring it in. We're here very briefly with one another. Let's just come together. So if you want to join Elephant Academy, the button is down there the whole time. If you want to ask a question, you can click Ask a Question the whole time. If you want to vote, ask a question. So if you click on Ask a Question, you'll see various questions. You can upvote any question that you want me to address. And I have some questions left over from last time. So I'll begin with that. This is our fourth quarantine gathering. They've been pretty fun. The first one was super meaningful and fun. The second one was a little challenging. I felt a little guilty because I got into some politics. And the third one was dorky and sweet and fun. And this is hopefully probably our last. If you want them to continue, I will continue them. But they are a lot of work for us. And guys, let's really focus it in. We really only have 15 minutes, less 48 minutes. Okay, so we will continue maybe, but if you want to jump into Elephant Academy, cool. So, pretty distracted by these comments, but that's my problem. So, what I was saying is the first session we got together, we did, what did we do? Anyone? Can anyone remember? Was anyone here in the first session? Can anyone remember what we did? We did meditation. We did a meditation of exchanging self for other, exchanging our wanting to hide from this pain or uncertainty, and exchanging fear, and giving succor, one of my favorite words, is very hard to pronounce. Giving healing, giving love, giving compassion, giving empathy. Empathy is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Yeah, a lot of people saying Tonglen. So empathy is a beautiful, powerful thing. Why is empathy so powerful? Because it's called the most transformative human emotion, right? Why is it so powerful? Because all of us are going through stuff right now, right? Imagine if we could connect whatever we're going through with other people and find that we're not alone, and find their experience helpful to us, their advice helpful to us, and find our experience helpful to them. Well, that's what empathy is. So there's actually a practice for growing that, for strengthening it. Just in the way that we might exercise, we can exercise our heart, our capacity to feel someone else's pain without being hurt by it, without being diseased by it. People are always afraid. What if I allow myself to feel? Isn't that dangerous? And I don't want to denigrate that fear. That's understandable. But we actually have to be brave enough to be vulnerable. Is anyone here brave enough, at least philosophically, does anyone here aspire to be brave enough to be vulnerable? And as we know, true strength is open. So you could call it vulnerable, but it's openness. And true strength is open, right? When there's challenge, like with the coronavirus, the bamboo bends, right? It's open to change. It's open to the wind. A rigid, fixed, macho, tough thing will eventually break. It'll snap. So how do we do that? On some very basic level, we resolve. Like, so this morning I meditated over on my bed, as I do every morning, and I said, may I be of benefit. It's good to start every single day. So we're going to talk about some quarantine habits that will help us keep the bullshit at bay, excuse my French, and embrace some healthy change, some of which is really happening. Maybe let's take 1 minute, folks. Offer one thing you've started doing during this quarantine that is healthy, that is causing joy, that is good for you, that is good for this planet, that is good for your loved ones. What is one healthy habit that you've been investing in during this quarantine? So I will say I've learned to make oat milk, and gosh, it's easy. So now I suddenly have a limitless, free, cheap, oats are so cheap, and I get them in a huge compostable package. So there's no plastic, there's no packaging at all. And you can make limitless oat milk, organic. You put some molasses in there, you put some cinnamon, you're done. Then you use the leftover stuff, you make some cookies, even an idiot like myself, slide it in the oven, and or you can make granola out of it. It's so easy, and granola is so expensive. So that took me a while to figure out, 45 years. All right, let's see what y'all are saying. Wow, a lot of people. Okay, walking in the woods, bed yoga every morning, talking to my son more, beautiful, sewing masks for friends and family. That is the spirit, Francis Miyamoto. It's not just good for you, it's fun for you and good for others. Sierra, hey, journaling. Sierra did the academy. Elephant Academy, Chestoria started Elephant Academy. Slowing down, sleeping more, watching the sunrise, planting seeds, vital, especially if they're good seeds. Baking with my son, meditating, inversions, painting, sitting down to eat meals. That's a huge one. Hey, Lindsay, some good friends here. These Friday sessions, 4,894. Let's just take one moment. If you're enjoying this at all, invite one loved one to come. Just say, hey, elephantjournal.com/retreat. Jump in. This is our last one. Gardening, meditation. Got a puppy. So remember, puppies are tons of work. Some people may disagree. Dog Whisperer trained me how to be a better human being for my dog, who is not hanging out with me very unusually. You can see his dog bed is empty right here. Helping people apply for unemployment, Val, that has been so difficult in so many states. Thank you. Facilitating virtual circles for educators, morning restorative yoga, qigong, writing, volunteered to foster dogs. So if you can't adopt a dog, fostering saves a life every single time. And it's also a good way to fall in love and adopt your ultimate doggy, because you find a good fit for you, Fostering. Let's all give some love for fostering. Can a couple people just say fostering? It's very overlooked. We think about rescuing, we think about adopting, or we think about not, or we think about buying from a breeder or whatever, but fostering, huge. Cleaning plastic trash off the beach where I'm stranded in Belize. What a place to be stranded. Try to remember to clean the plastic trash off the beach, not in a plastic bag. We don't want to create further plastic. Thank you so much for doing that. All right, so there's hundreds of taking care of indoor plants. Nice. I got a big one behind me. So there's hundreds there. So there's some really beautiful things. Now let's take a moment, and this isn't negative. A lot of us are afraid of negativity. We all want to hold positivity, right? We all want to hug positivity so tight it can't move, like a claustrophobic hug, and positivity is like, Jesus. But let's give negative things some attention, because it's powerful to be aware of what's negative, right? Not to be negative. We're not going to be negative, but what are some unhealthy things that have been happening in this quarantine? Maybe not in your quarantine, but generally, what are some unhealthy things? I'll say the amount of plastic we're creating, the to-go culture. I read this morning about how all the major tech companies are blowing up. They're getting huge, even huger. They're absorbing a lot of strength out of local communities. So Google, YouTube, Netflix, Facebook, Instagram. What else? They're all Apple. They're all making kabillions of dollars and leeching. Oh, Amazon is an obvious one. We're buying stuff off Amazon instead of from our local communities. So let's just be aware of these things, right? Being depressed, overthinking, overeating. Okay, here's my really dumb overeating tip. I eat healthfully whatever I want to during the day, and then I don't eat after a certain hour. So there's no sense of diet. I just don't eat after a certain hour, and that's simple. And whenever I want to eat after a certain hour, I just remind myself I can eat whatever I want during the day, but at night, when I'm not moving, I'm sitting around, I'm about to go to bed, I don't want to be digesting a huge meal, I just don't eat anything. I allow myself a break if I'm with a friend, I'm eating popcorn or ice cream or something like that late. But don't have too many friends around. It's quarantine. All right. Something's killing the green energy industry. Too much digital time, right? Too much online time. Stressing over a breakup. Christina, let's put in that article about, God, Emily, I have this broken heart article. I'm sure it has a quote from Pema in it. Anyway, put in a good article about broken heart and Pema for Christina and for all of us. Canceled Amazon Prime. Yeah, the less we can invest in these, it's not that big is evil, right? But it's that big often tends to be loyal to quarterly profits and to growth. If big is only about growth and it's not about local community, you know, we're going to, when we reopen out of quarantine, we're going to find these decimated local communities. So please try to support local, but try to support local that isn't just plastic. Because we're seeing a lot of to-go cups and stuff. Plastic is forever, right? Your grandchildren's grandchildren will, you know, be around for every plastic cup we've ever created. All right, let's bring this in a little bit. Get some of that nice focus. So out of that, one thing we do in Elephant Academy is a mindful life challenge. Are people having a good time so far? I feel like I've been a bad host. I want to present our mindful life challenge. So the mindful life challenge is, we can talk and listen, talk and watch Netflix, and we can go watch YouTube. We can go through our lives talking, or we can actually try to change our habits. So is anyone up for doing one change of habit with 4,898 people here all together? 10 salves for a broken heart. Lindsay, that was the one I was thinking of. 10 salves for a broken heart. If people will just open that up, please read it later, but that's the one. Salves for a broken heart. You know, a salve is something you put on a wound, right? So let's all do a mindful life challenge. Seems like people are into it. So these are not just about us. They're not just for us. One of the most powerful habits that we can do is to say, when we bow in the morning to meditate or pray or whatever you're doing, is to say, may I be a benefit. May everything and anything good I do be helpful for other people and for the planet as well. Are people into that? So we're not just going to do a self-care thing. We're going to do a self-care that's a planet care, that's other people care, that is also a self-care. So it's all sentient beings. In Buddhism, we say, may I be a benefit to all sentient beings. Sentient beings can include blades of grass. Although as a vegan, the blades of grass are pretty wary around me because I might eat them. The link for salves to broken heart is above. Okay, so I'm going to offer the ones we do in Elephant Academy, and I'll offer a couple different ones. So the first Mindful Life Challenge, and only pick one, okay? We always want to say, oh, I'll do all the challenges. But then we wind up kind of half doing all of them and really not fully doing any of them. How do we know if we're doing a challenge? How do we know if we're changing a habit? What does that feel like? Those of you who exercise in gyms or climb or run know what that feels like, or who do yoga. What does it feel like when you're doing a challenge, when you're creating a new habit? What does it feel like? Uncomfortable. Elizabeth. Strenuous. So I have a quote, Emily, I don't know if you can find that, or Lindsay or someone, but it says, you want to be a little bit uncomfortable. You don't want to be in red zone uncomfortable, but you want to be a little bit uncomfortable, because that lets you know you're growing, you're expanding, you're stretching. So, people who here think stress is bad? I know that's a leading question. Who here thinks stress is bad? Now, if I hadn't led with that question, everyone would say yes. It can be, of course. Good answer. So normally, most of us in this group will say stress is bad. Stress is not bad. Stress is uncomfortable. It's growing. It's stretching. What are you doing to your muscles when you exercise? You're stressing them. But you don't want to be caught up in stress. You want to be able to process and breathe through and manage that stress. Exactly. There's kind of good stress or cool stress, and there's hot stress or bad stress. So we need, exactly, without stress tension, there can be no release. Anyone who's gone to Coachella or whatever and heard awful house music, there's that tension and then it releases. Classical music too, right? So stress is actually pretty fun, but you don't want to be caught in it. You don't just want forever. You got to breathe through it. So when I was climbing, this guy, Andrew, years ago, he was actually teaching a kid right next to me. And he said, the one thing everyone does when they're doing a hard problem, a hard climbing move, we call it a problem, is what? What do people tend to do when they're going in to do something hard? What do we tend to do? Tense up, strain, freeze, tense, hold our breath. Jeff Cannon, hold our breath, hold breath. We tend to hold our breath. So Andrew was teaching a kid, and I felt like suddenly I was standing by like the greatest Buddhist teacher in the world. He was like, the one thing we always tend to do when we go for a hard problem is we hold our breath. You go. But that's the opposite of what we want to do. We need to practice breathing in those moments. So I've been doing these New York Times 6-minute exercises, and they're always talking about the breath. Any good yoga teacher will talk about the breath. That's how yoga can be like meditation. Right, so we need to breathe through that. So exercise can be a great habit for meditation. Exercise can reinforce meditation where you're working with the breath. So at the end of this, we'll do a 10-minute aerobics routine. Well, all of you are wearing your pink and neon and green spandex, right? We told all of you to look like Jamie Lee Curtis and John Travolta in that. What's that old aerobics movie? We're all going to do that for 10 minutes at the end. It's all about the breath. Okay, so Mindful Life Challenge. So the first Mindful Life Challenge, and only pick one. Only pick one. If you secretly want to do multiple ones, yeah, you got to have your leg warmers. Exactly, Tess. If you secretly want to do more than one Mindful Life Challenge, that's fine, but only commit to one. So please don't say which one you're doing until the end, okay? People get that? I'm going to present 4 options, and you're going to pick one, okay? And you can also pick 0. If you don't want to do any, that's great. Boundaries, commitment, this is what it's about. Are we good? In Elephant Academy culture, we say height because it's just direct and it's kind of fun and it's honoring our Japanese sisters and brothers. That's how we did it in Shambhala Sun Summer Camp, so we're doing it here. Height. It's a little more fun to say height than sure. Okay, sure. Yeah, I guess. All right. Okay, height. So the very first one, and some of these are for post-quarantine world. The very first one is not multitasking with my phone. Not multitasking with my phone, not talking with someone while being on my phone, not driving while I'm on my phone, not biking or skateboarding or walking. That's a big one. Not walking on my phone. Well, don't walk on your phone, but not walking while being on your phone. So simply, it's you'll see this actually in big crowded cities. When you're walking, you'll kind of pull yourself over to the side of a building and you'll do your text or do your phone call. Now, if you want to walk and be on the phone call or what do you call it, FaceTime or whatever, if there's some sense that it does feel mindful and you're just walking your dog and that's okay, cool. But we've all seen, folks walking their dogs on their phone, ignoring their dogs or their children completely. No judgment, but we want to just kind of bring it in. Take this time to slow down and do one thing fully. So that's number one. Number two, so not multitasking on your phone. It can be a transformative practice. That means you're not going to be on Netflix, half watching a movie while being on your phone. I've been hanging out with a friend, hanging out virtually. So she's in Denver. We watch a movie together and we text about the movie, like as if we were hanging out together. It's sort of quarantine hanging, movie watching. And every single time I have to pause the movie and rewind it back to where, because I want to watch the full flow. If it's a beautiful movie or music, you want to enjoy the full thing. I have a quote I wrote that is something like, the present moment is where the brilliance happens. Any wonderful moment of your life, think of a wonderful moment of your life, you were present for it. So whether it was falling in love, whether it was a delicious meal, whether it was traveling in Florence or somewhere, and it is a memory ingrained in your mind and in your heart, in your life, you were present for that. The best meal on earth, if you're not present for it, might as well be crappy food, right? People get that. So we got to one thing at a time. That's number one. Number two, no unnecessary plastic. Now, almost all plastic is really unnecessary and is bad for our planet, right? But no unnecessary plastic. That means no straws, no to-go cup lids. Do you know that 99% of coffee to-go cups are plastic lined? They're bleached, they're plastic lined. Okay, so none of that. So the sort of to-go culture, none of that. So when you're getting a drink in a bar, once they reopen, you say, please no straw. If you're ordering a juice to go, please no straw. If you're getting something to go, don't get it if it's plastic. So like today, I'm gonna, for the first time, get takeout from a local restaurant. I haven't really honestly felt that safe about it, and I don't like to-go culture. Reusable is perfect, but ideally not plastic. Ideally like, what do you call it? The glassware stuff. We have a clean canteen mug, for example. But yeah, reusable, even plastic, if it's gonna last for 50 years, that's great. So I'm making sure it's compostable. I'm making sure the bag is paper, all that stuff. And it is, which is great. But let's not create more plastic. Do we all know about the Texas size Pacific garbage patch? Anyone? Can we put a link in the sidebar from Elephant? We all know that, we've all heard the stat that there's soon going to be more plastic in our oceans, our beautiful oceans. Who here loves the ocean? I know Lindsay does. Who here loves the ocean? There's going to be more plastic in the oceans than fish. You know how many people, you know how many animals, whales, birds, fish themselves depend on eating fish. Now, I'm vegan, but half the world depends on eating fish. And if the fish are full of plastic, if the whales are full of plastic, if the birds, when they die, even on Galapagos in the middle of nowhere, are opened up and they're full of plastic, maybe put that link in there so people can see that famous photo, Emily, Galapagos bird. So that's heartbreaking. So let's stop it. There is no way. Can someone write that? There is no way. We can't, out of sight, out of mind. It doesn't work. The plastic exists forever. We've been talking about this for 20 years on Elephant, and sometimes I get depressed and angry. But I have to remember like little changes like what we're talking about. So that's number 2. Can cheer us up. Thank you, Margot. Number 3, meditating for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever you can do, first thing in the morning. It can be on your bed. It can be in a specific meditation spot. Meditating, dedicating the merit of whatever you do in this day to be a benefit to all sentient beings. You just say, may my day be of benefit. May my day be of benefit to all sentient beings. Say whatever you like, but that's the basic kind of message. And meditating. All meditation is not the same. The specific meditation is Annie Leonard is Wonderful Story of Stuff, right? We've also blogged that on Elephant. Hey, Kate. So are we up for meditating for 1 minute? This is the longest challenge presentation ever, but I want to be specific about the kind of meditation. Everyone up for 1 minute? So take a good posture. Eyes are open. You can wobble about a little bit so you loosen up. Find your breath. Eyes are open, but 45 degrees down. This is Buddhist shamatha, strengthening the mind in the present moment. Emily or Molly or whomever, do you mind putting the Datan Trungpa meditation instruction? It's the classic shamatha meditation instruction in the sidebar. Find your breath. Eyes are open. Just breathe in and out. You're not doing anything spiritual. Trungpa Rinpoche said meditation should be as basic as brushing your teeth every single day. 3rd grade is joining. Okay, I'm going to watch my language. So breathe in and breathe out. Everyone, breathe in, breathe out. So speaking of 3rd grade, when I was a kid, I would visualize the breath like a wave. We all know about oceans, like a wave. A wave going out, tide going out, tide going in, coming in. And then your attention, you're just going to place your attention on that breath like a surfer. So you're going to surf on the wave. So just lightly pay attention to that breath. Maybe 25% of your attention is on the breath. The rest is just relaxed. Mouth can be open, eyes are open. That's important. Good posture. Hands are just flat on your thighs. We're not doing anything fancy here. First thing you think about, just notice that. It's not bad to think. We all have brains. Just notice, oh, I'm thinking about what I'm going to eat for lunch. I'm thinking about making a snowman outside with this beautiful snow. I'm thinking about, do people like this or not? I'm thinking about whatever. Girls, boys, argument I had with someone, a song in my head. Oh, I'm thinking. You just label that thinking, even if you've done this 1,000 times. It's called meditation practice for a reason. We have to do it again and again. So, oh, I'm thinking. You just say thinking silently to yourself and place your attention back on the breath. And you do that again and again. When you're done, you dedicate it to be of benefit to everybody. So why is that so helpful? I'm getting hot. It's hot up here. Why is that so helpful? You're literally training your brain. You're training your habits. You're training your lifelong habitual patterns to, whenever they're confronted with distraction or obstacle or neurosis, or we call it klesha, sudden conflict, you're suddenly upset. Hey, 2nd grader, friend, Kelly. Who here ever goes through klesha? Do we know about klesha? So please click that meditation link if you feel like it, if you want it for later. Emily, I think I did a blog on klesha, or Molly. So if we have sudden conflict, our minds will just say, I'm caught up, I'm thinking, come back to the breath. So that's number 3. Number 4 will be, what else did we do in Elephant Academy, the Mindful Life Challenge? This is a good one for the quarantine, is taking off your shoes. So taking off your shoes is common in many households already. It's common in many cultures already, but it's also not. Our shoes have pesticides. They have trace amounts of poop, dog poop usually. And then we put them on our couch, we put them on our bed, all that stuff. It's kind of gross. But from a Buddhist point of view, the virtue of taking off your shoes is there's a pause. When you go into your office, you take off your shoes. When you go into your home, you take off your shoes. When you are speedy. You don't want to take off your shoes, right? You have to do the laces, blah. It's irritating. That irritation is your speediness being confronted with mindfulness. That irritation you feel when you are confronted with having to take off your shoes and you're in a rush is your speediness being confronted with mindfulness. We got that? Does that make sense? Does anyone get that? The virtue of that? If we can put a little road bump in front of our speediness and bring it back to mindfulness, then we can do that thing called just breathing, relaxing. As I like to say, boredom or speediness, which are kind of the same thing. Let's put that busyness is laziness article in there again. I think I've mentioned it like every quarantine gathering. But when we're confronted with boredom, we try to run away. We try to get on our phones, multitask, fill the space, right? But if we can just relax into that boredom and just be present. So here's the practice. When the quarantine is over, whenever that is, no rush. We want to be careful here. Is whenever you're with a friend in a restaurant, they go to the bathroom, don't get on your phone. Just use that opportunity to look around. It's kind of fun. Just look around where you are right now. Notice a couple specific things. I have the stained glass blue jay, so birds don't fly into my window. That's kind of nice to notice. It's a little hard laptop angle. I like my pillows. They're filled with wool from Holy Lamb, great company. I have these skylights with snow above me. You just see all these little details, how the sun is hitting the floor. And those little details are you being present in the moment. So, Mindful Life Challenge. Now's the time to pick one, and we're going to move forward. Yeah, they're sort of where the wild things are, pillows. All right, but not really. They're just lions. So who wants to do number one? Number one is this. Who wants to do that? You can say number one or you can say phone. Multitasking. Number two, no unnecessary plastic. That's a tough one. That means grocery store, obviously if you're buying like a bag of chips, cool. But can you figure out how to make tortilla chips in your oven? Maybe. Can you make your own oat milk? The changes that single thing around plastic will make in your life that are almost all fun and cheaper and healthier for you, and cheaper is a good one right there, will be profound. So number two is no unnecessary plastic, straws, to-go cup lids, none of that to-go culture plastic stuff. If it's compostable, if it's permanent to go, great. Number three, thank you for writing all this down. Meditating for 2 minutes in the morning. It could be 2 minutes in the evening. That can help with insomnia. That can help with your entire day if it's in the morning. And dedicating the merit. Number four is taking off your shoes. It's being confronted with slowing down our speediness. So go for it. Who wants to go for it? Klesha is Klesha. So a lot of number three, which one was number three? I can't remember. So many people are commenting. All right, number three, meditating. Right. A lot of meditating. Okay, phone. Maybe don't just say the number. Say the number and the thing so we can get a sense. So in multitasking, that can be a huge one for our whole life. You know how dangerous it is to multitask. Even if you're not getting injured, you're missing out on life a little bit. Yeah, and if you're already doing one, that's great. Or doing all of them, that's great. Yeah, but remember, recycling plastic is a toxic process. So it's better than nothing, kind of. But when you're recycling, you're melting plastic. That's toxic. And then there's a lot of transportation involved. That's oil and pollution. And then recycling the toxic plastic is toxic. And then it degrades and it's less useful. So generally, plastic is just best not to create in the first place. It's kind of a Mordor kind of situation. All right. We got through that. It's 11:43. We're almost done. This is crazy. This is going to feel like the shortest one. So I guess I want to end with a couple questions. So let's address this. Your questions. So a couple notes. The Dalai Lama has a quote. He says, "Love and compassion are necessities, not luxuries. Without them, humanity cannot survive." So what we're seeing in this quarantine, in this pandemic, in this world right now, is people going in one of two directions. Can anyone say, let's bring it in, let's focus. What are the two directions that we're seeing people go right now? One direction is making masks for one another, staying home so that folks don't get sick, working together, kindness, singing from balconies. We're seeing the skies in LA, in India, in the Himalayas, all around the world. We're seeing the skies clear. We're seeing the water clear, but we know they're going to get destroyed the second we're out of quarantine, right? So, but fear, just like stress, is not bad. Remember, fear is not bad. Just like stress, fear is natural. If you're on a cliff, you're going to be afraid. That's great. Being caught in that fear, being, as FDR said, fear of fear itself. That's our only problem. Being caught in stress, being caught in fear, that's the problem. So don't insult your own self for feeling afraid. It's okay to feel afraid, and that's part of vulnerability. We don't want to push that away. So yeah, we can have leaders, and we ourselves can be leaders in appealing to our better angels, the better angels of our nature, right? Yeah, there's a 99-year-old walking 100 laps to raise over $20 million, Kari is saying. I don't know about that, but that's beautiful. Yeah, making chalk on your fence, making chalk art on your fence for your neighbors. And then, what's the other direction? What do we see that maybe is kind of caught up in fear, in selfishness, in kind of boredom, trying to get away from boredom in a bad way? We see a lot of that. So in the book of Shambhala by Trungpa Rinpoche, he starts the whole book of Shambhala blaming. Although blaming isn't all bad, just like fear and stress. Hoarding. I do think, there was this meme on Twitter that said, it's funny that people love to hate people hoarding toilet paper, but then we look at billionaires, and I'm not just trying to be all Bernie Sanders about it, but there are people and corporations on this earth who are hoarding resources, who are hoarding wealth, who fail to pay their workers well and give them adequate protections and healthcare, right? So there's mass hoarding over here. So don't be misdirected to hate on just poor folks who are hoarding toilet paper out of wanting some sense of agency or engagement, right? Maybe, Emily, can you put my blog? I actually wrote about that, the mindful approach to coronavirus blog, or Molly. I always say Emily. Yeah, drugs and alcohol abuse, depression, isolation. So one thing we've been trying to do here is just have very simple connection. Has today felt all right so far? Has today felt okay so far? I think blame can be okay. If, I've been very angry at our leader here, because leadership has to be about service. Leadership has to be about truth. Leadership has to expedite mass action and problem solving. And when it doesn't, people suffer, and people invest in conspiracy theories or hating on one another instead of reality. And reality can save lives and create a better future. And we need that. We need public servants, not kind of authoritarian, sort of self-obsessed leaders. And while I generally, I love that Elephant is like 50% conservative and liberal, we're outside of our own choir. That's a beautiful, wonderful thing. My father is conservative. My mom is not. I have respect for both, but I don't have respect for lying. And I have to challenge a lot of our yoga audience, our natural products audience, about conspiracy theories. So investing your emotions and your research in conspiracy theories. It's not that they aren't true or that they don't have some truth in them, right? I'm not a fan of GMOs, for example, not because I'm anti-science, but because science is about testing. GMOs, like 5G, should be tested to be safe. But you know what? Conspiracy theories are real, and all of us should be fighting and exposing. Like Bernie Sanders has said many times, the concentration of wealth in the few, corporations and individuals, that's a real conspiracy that we need to fight. Not fight with anger, not fight with hate, but we need to change that. We don't need everyone to be equal, but people are equal fundamentally, and everyone has to have opportunity. That is the American dream, and hopefully the worldwide dream. You know what else is a conspiracy that we know is true that we need to fight? Climate change. There's a part of me that is angry and depressed about the quarantine because we're seeing how quickly pollution can go away. When we stop flying to Bali for a random yoga retreat or flying to Mexico because we're bored, when we stop driving everywhere, when the oil companies are losing their shirts because they can't sell their barrels of oil. So climate change is a real issue that we need to fight with everything we got now. There's no debate about that. And we all agree with that, but everyone here on this call, including myself, needs to take real action. My house is solar powered, right? What else can I do? I try not to use plastic. I try to bike everywhere. I haven't had a car in 12 years. Some of that is super privileged. So I'm not in a glass house throwing stones or whatever. This ain't about being perfect, but this is about what can we do? Can we buy bulk? Can we make our own oat milk? What can we do? I grew up with my mom. I don't think she was able to really join with the audio, but we were super poor growing up, and what we were able to do to save money, a lot of that was naturally environmental. You know, people with less money on this earth are causing way less damage. People with more money, basically the rich, there was just an article about that, are causing most of climate change. So I hope we invest in understanding that there's been some beautiful things come out of this quarantine. More quality time with your family or yourself or your loved one or your dog. We don't need to just run off and fly around the whole world all the time. Maybe you limit your flights every year if you're flying a lot. But I don't want to pick on flying. Getting food from 1,500, 1,800 miles away on average, that's a problem. Gardening, you know. So there's real conspiracy issues. They're not conspiracies exactly. Like Don Draper in Mad Men, he said, look, no one really knows what the hell is going on, and the people at the top are just as selfish and idiotic. But there is power loves power. And those who are powerful and rich will try to get more. And not all of them. There's nothing inherently evil about power or money. Of course, it can be beautiful. It can be good. Yeah, there's an article about your dog's perspective on the pandemic. Love it. Join your local CSA. Plant trees. How can you, fight evil with beauty, with love, with empathy, with kindness? Part of it is voting, right? I'm not going to tell you how to vote, but we got to vote for equal rights. We got to vote for science. We got to vote for fighting climate change. We got to vote urgently and in overwhelming numbers because there's a lot of voter suppression going on. There's very little voter fraud. There's a lot of voter suppression. One other way we can vote, and I want to make a personal appeal, and then I'll get to another question. We're now at 4,910 people, close to 5,000, is to read journalism. And not just read journalism, but subscribe to it. Give it money. Nationally, all the local papers are going out of business. A lot of them are crappy now because they barely have staff. But that's partially our fault. We need to invest in them by subscribing, reading, and sharing them. Stop living on Instagram and Facebook and Google. Really, every time you go to an independent website, say like Elephant Journal, but hopefully it has to be a site that is loyal to truth, not just loyal to popularity. I'm not here to please you. I'm here to hopefully have a genuine experience with you. I'm not here to please you. I'm not here to get likes. I'm here to hopefully have genuine listening and conversation and community and truth. I love Monica's suggestion. Join a local CSAs, plant trees, journalism, New York Times. All right. So if you feel like I'm going to ask someone to put the Elephant Journal subscription link in there, it would really help. We have already lost $50,000 in our first month. I'm not going to do a Jerry Lewis telethon. We are strong. We are lucky. Elephant is strong through its first month. But even being strong, we have lost a lot. Not of subscribers, but of advertising, because advertisers, our mindful partners, are just getting decimated. And I feel for them. So we're actually doing things to support them. We're creating lists of our mindful sponsors. But if you're willing, elephantjournal.com/subscribe. If even like 10 of you out of 4,900 did it, that would make our day. elephantjournal.com/subscribe. elephantjournal.com/subscribe. Oh, someone put in the link. If you are inspired, that's not even enough. Getting our newsletter, opening it up, and sharing one elephant article. Is anyone up for getting our free newsletter and sharing one article a week? One article a week would transform Elephant. Yeah, and if you're a subscriber, please say I'm a subscriber. elephantjournal.com/best. That's free. If you don't want to subscribe, elephantjournal.com/best, and share one article a week. Can people say height if you're into it? Not sure, Lisa. Height, or hell yeah, Liz Lewis, my auntie. Yeah, and if you are a subscriber, say it. Thank you, Lisa, so much. So let's get to more questions, because I really don't want to misuse this time we have together. But sharing truth is a huge way we can help this planet of ours. Okay. Okay, questions. It seems that in times of crisis, we either grow or regress, and sometimes a combination of both, depending on the context. What advice would you give to help push through regressing? So we've kind of already covered that. But basically, sharing truth, subscribing to journalism, supporting local, avoiding big tech as much as you can. Instead of using Google, use DuckDuckGo. Instead of using Chrome, use Firefox, right? Supporting local, gardening, cooking, meditating, avoiding plastic. We've kind of, the whole thing has been on that. Local bookshops, donate to minority communities, donate to, what do you call them? Food pantries. Navajo nations are being hit incredibly hard. Thank you, Francesca. There's a great article in the New York Times about that today. Be careful of the cult of politics. I do think it's important to be involved in politics. Otherwise, if we aren't involved in politics, you know, the powerful will be the only people involved in politics. But the way we get involved is through truth. I think that's why I'm in defense of blaming a little bit. You don't want to get into blame culture, but you do want to assign responsibility. And that can include to yourself. A lot of people say, don't shame me. You're just shaming me. You're blaming. You know, part of being an adult is what? Part of being an adult is taking responsibility when you F up, when I F up. Accountability. So all this shaming stuff is ridiculous. Real shaming is heavy, heavy, heavy. But 90% of what we're calling shaming on Twitter is us not wanting any responsibility. Okay, let's do one more Ask a Question, and then I think we'll wrap up with a moment of, we'll write one little haiku. How's that? So, the top question. May we continue these somehow. They have found a joyful place in my Fridays and have helped me remember it as Friday while sheltering in place. Okay, well, I have a challenge for you, Kate. Did you guys hear that? So the top voted by far is, may we continue these Fridays, free Fridays somehow. They have found a joyful place in my Fridays and have helped me remember it is Friday while sheltering in place. So I am willing to continue these free Fridays, although they take staff time and Elephant is not as strong as it could be. I am willing to continue these if there is interest. I don't want to do it for me. You know, I don't want to be part of this like second tier celebrity culture thing. I don't want to do them for Elephant even. I want to do them for community, for truth, for fighting climate change, for meditation, for, you know, genuinely finding our voice, all that stuff that we do in Elephant Academy. So again, you can join full Elephant Academy if you feel like paying. We've lowered the price, but I want to pay Molly and Emily. I have to pay staff. So it's 60% off, which is pretty crazy. That'll be the cheapest it'll ever be. It's in that green button. But I will continue these if, let me give a challenge right back to you. In Buddhism, they would say, you know, we only teach when we are asked. I am not a Buddhist teacher, right? But I am a Buddhist student. And what we're doing here isn't just Buddhism, but it's community. I don't want to charge money for it. I would want it free. But I will continue these if we get to 6,000. So right now we're at 4,912. If we're at 6,000 by end of day Thursday, you know, 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So basically end of day Thursday. If we're at 6,000 people, we grew, you know, 3,000 in the first week. So that's not that hard. If every one of you who wants to have this happen invites 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loved ones, we'll easily be at 6,000. But we have to expand the choir, right? Just preaching to the choir, who cares? This world is already siloed enough. You know, this world is already siloed enough. The best donation test would just be subscribe. If you do want to pay for these Elephant Academy Fridays, elephantjournal.com/subscribe. So, Catherine, how do you invite people? Very simple. Yeah, exactly what Emily said. elephantjournal.com/retreat. It is free. You do have to register. If 6,000 people are in by Thursday, end of day Thursday, we'll do next Friday. So let's just see. Today was fun. We didn't sing Elvis badly. I don't think anyone cried of joy. Can you gift a subscription? I'm not sure how that works. I don't know, but you could, I don't know. We're not super savvy about some things because we're a small team. Can Elephant please post some social sharing posts so we can push it out on our feeds? Yeah, you bet. I mean, I shared one from @Waylon Lewis on Instagram. Definitely shared it from @Elephant Journal this morning on Instagram. They're also on Facebook. I shared, but basically elephantjournal.com/retreat. And then if you want to donate, if you feel inspired, elephantjournal.com/subscribe. Thank you so much. It's noon or whatever time it is where you are. It's the top of the hour. Since I did come 4 minutes late, I'll do one more question. Why do some relationships, especially the ones which matter the most, either make it or break it during crisis? Do we show who we really are when times get rough, or does our personality get distorted when things get difficult? And is it possible to save a relationship on your own because your partner feels so drained and hurt by your behavior that they have no energy to cut you some slack and take part in the fixing? So I wrote a book about this, basically. It's called Things I Would Like to Do With You. We're going to bow out in 4 minutes. If you need to leave now, that's beautiful. We're going to end in 3 minutes because I came 4 minutes late. So relationships are often about mutual projection, right? I love you. I want you because you're attractive to me, because you love me, because you're presenting me with this lovable person. But change challenges us. It brings up unhealthy habits. It brings up fear, stress, blame, all those things we talked about that aren't bad, but we have to process and breathe through them. So I wrote a whole book about this, Things I Would Like to Do With You. It's at elephantjournal.com/books. But it's basically about the Buddhist notion of relationship and loneliness as well. Being alone is a beautiful thing. I totally support it. I'm alone. I love it. I do want to have children and stuff, but I love being alone. But dating is also fun, or being in a relationship is beautiful, or being married in commitment can be so challenging in a wonderful way. So when we change, that mutual projection can no longer hold. You're no longer the person I thought you were because you're going through being challenged and being, having any unresolved trauma can come up, or fear. So, that's where Shakespeare or all these great people write about love. We can look to them for help here, which is, are we loving their fundamental being? Are you loving your own fundamental being? Trungpa Rinpoche called that basic goodness. Let's end with one more link. Emily or Molly, can you put in the basic goodness Trungpa link? So if we're, or Maitri always works. If we are fundamentally connected to our own basic goodness, then we are okay during times of change. We can experience fear, stress, losing our job, all of that. And we can eat, no matter how hard and devastating things are, we can be grounded in the present moment. And that's what Darwin talked about, not survival of the fittest. He talked about survival of the adaptist, those who can change. So we go through that with our loved one too. They need to be grounded in their basic goodness. If they're not, they're going to be freaking out. If we're still grounded in our basic goodness, then we can love them. I forgot about the haiku. So let's end with the haiku. We have a long to-do list today. So a haiku, what is it? 575. So 575, and then we'll take off, and we'll end with a bow together. So don't worry about the syllables, actually. Oh, my mom is here. Bare branches sway, goldfinch jewels at feeder, sun and clouds of Nova Scotia. Gorgeous. 575, but don't worry about the syllables. Just write something, and then we'll bow out and leave at 12:04. So mine is all of you such heart. May we be a benefit in all the little things together. All right, let's take a great posture. If we're at 6,000 folks, we'll do one more, or we'll keep going. 6,000 by Thursday. Let's take a great posture with respect, friendliness, and a sense of good cheer. We'll give it away. Thank you, folks. I hope that was time well spent. It's 12:04, and we'll see you next Friday, maybe. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Haley, Kelly, Rogers, Aaron, Roseanne. Thank you, Auntie Liz, Nancy. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you, Elizabeth, Melissa. Thank you, everyone. Jody. Hey, Kathleen. Chantel. Thank you, everyone. Hey, there's Redford.